Okay.
All right, hey Jackson, we finally remembered to record. Thanks to Ellis. Listen, y'all, we're gonna do this, and if we have time, we might have a short spelling bee at the end, just because I like spelling bees and we never had one. So, all right.
I can spell
We may not have time. Okay, we're just gonna do this one section, but I want to make sure we have plenty of time for it. Okay, so we've been talking about, for how long? A few days. It seems longer because we had bless you, we had Tuesday and Wednesday off at home, right? In which I tried to skirt the grammar and not do it because I don't like you doing grammar at home if you don't have to. And then we had Thursday and Friday of last week where we weren't here. So it seems like we've been on this flipping chapter forever to me, and we've only probably had it for 4 or 5 days in class, which is fine. But for the last 3 days in class at least, okay, we've been talking about where do commas go. Okay, today we're going to talk about where they don't go. All right. Honestly, being an English person, personally, I would rather see an extra one here or there than a missed one. Okay, I'll put it out there. Ideally, you don't do either. Okay, but I would rather see an extra one here or there than a missing one, especially. The most egregious one, to me, is the one before the and, but, or, nor, for, yet, or so when you have a compound sentence. Because that is a run-on, y'all. It's a run-on. Okay, and y'all got 3 years to go to college. Well, 2.5 now, right? Lord willing, okay? Run-ons, if you have a really, really strict professor in college, a run-on could absolutely be the difference in a letter grade on a paper. Okay, one run-on. All right, so incorrect commas, where we don't want them, all right? We don't want them if we're only joining 2 elements, okay? Now, that's not 2 sentences. That is the exception here. If you have 2 complete ideas, you have a comma, and, or but, or for, nor, whatever, and then your other sentence. But unless you have 2 complete ideas, for instance, the most commonly placed one that doesn't need to be there is when you have 2 verbs, but not a complete idea on the other side of the end. Okay, let's do this. Okay. Here's your subject, right? Here's a verb. Action verb, we've got a direct object. Here's our conjunction. We have another action verb and another direct object. All right? But we don't have another subject. Okay? So you do not put a comma here.
Now I know how to do direct.
Do you make this?
Okay, good.
Oh, come on now.
I don't know why.
No. Okay.
Oh, I thought it said airball.
I said shot it at the buzzer.
Does that mean he made it?
It's up. That's up to your imagination.
Well, we all know the outcome is definitely a W.
They got blocked.
They got
All right.
Definitely green.
Hey, those that don't play don't get to say what happens. I love you, David. You know that. I'm just saying. All right. After a conjunction, I'm picking. After a conjunction, you also, and most of you are not going to do this, but some may will.
I do. Oh. That's what it's called.
That, I mean, this I get. You don't need it, but I get why you would do it, especially if you have a mean old English teacher that says, if you have 2 sentences and you don't put the comma with the conjunction, you get a run-on, and that's nasty, okay? I get that. There would be absolutely no reason for a comma here whatsoever. Okay? All right. Okay, between a subject and a verb. honestly, of the extra commas, this is the one that I hate to see the most. I hate to not see this one if I have two complete ideas the most. But of the extra ones that I hate to see, it's when somebody separates a subject and a verb with a comma. Now, I understand that sometimes when we're in a hurry or we just, for whatever reason, we write something and we make a really long, kind of awkward subject, okay? And then we put our verb and we're like, well, my goodness, I need to pause there, right? Rewrite it, okay? The only way there should be a comma right before your verb is if you've got an appositive or some other thing that needs a pair of commas there, okay? So, for example, okay? My whole subject here, technically speaking, is this big, long gerund phrase. Okay? I've seen many a time with people trying to write, particularly maybe in creative writing, which is cool, and I hope to have all you guys in there next year, Lord willing, if the Lord tarries. And they'll do something like this. Okay? If your subject's so long that you think you need a comma because you gotta go, then reword your subject, okay? This is never acceptable. Okay. All right, a couple more. Integrated questions, okay? Look at these with me. When a quote functions as, and this one, yeah, let me just write one up here for you. We'll look at these and then I'm gonna write another one because this one is something that people struggle with. When a quote functions as either the subject or the predicate noun of a sentence, it should not be set off by commas. I would include if it functions as a direct object because I've seen that as well. Okay, if your quote is the subject, a direct object, a predicate noun, okay, it's integrated as a vital part of your sentence pattern, you don't need a comma for that. Okay, even though it's in quotes, I know it's in quotes and we just learned the comma goes inside the quotes and all that good stuff, okay? Look at your examples here. These are the times that Try Men's Souls opens Thomas Paine's first crisis paper, okay? That whole quote is your subject. No comma between that and your verb. The next one, the beginning of Milton's great epic, Paradise Lost, is of man's first disobedience and the fruit of that forbidden tree. All right? So, yeah, just don't. Okay, and then it tells you the rule for restrictive clauses applies to quoted matter. Do not use commas to set off a quoted restrictive clause if it's necessary. Okay, restrictive, remember, means necessary. It restricts the meaning. Okay, let me do one more of these for you just so you can see it up here in large print. Well, that won't work. Yeah. Because that's not the same quotes. That's quotes, but that's for a different reason. I'll go ahead and write that one. Anybody ever read that from Poe? Okay.
I want to read it.
I was going to do this as your predicate noun, but then I realized it's not it is quoted, but it's not a quote like as in, right? As in this kind of quote. Either way though, huh? Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah.
Awesome. Love Poe. Love Poe.
some weird heart.
So if punctuation says translate.
There is the peer, okay, good question. When we get to quotation marks, we'll go back over this, but yes, absolutely. If this were, these two marks always go before the quotes, okay? Whether they're beginning quotes or ending quotes, commas and periods always go before. These two, and we will be dealing with this soon, so we might as well talk about it now since the question was raised. These two always go outside of the quotes. Okay? Blah, 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 blah. You got your quoted matter, and then we got another idea, or we're going to follow up what we've just said with an explanation. They always go outside the quotes. These two are the ones you have to think about. If what's inside the quotes is showing strong feeling or asking a question, then they go before the quotes are done. If you ask a question and then you have quotes, then like you have a question, blah, 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 and then you have quotes, and that's not a question, then this would go outside of the quotes at the end. And same for that. Okay? Uh-huh. All right, and finally, dates. Okay? If you have just a month and a year, all right, you don't need any commas. So I'm writing a sentence here, and I got a bunch of words, and I got a bunch more words. And in the middle, I've got February 2021. There's no comma here. There's no comma there. But generally speaking, you could do both of those if you have all three. Absolutely have to have that. And often you would have that as well to separate it. Just like when you do city and state, you did it after the state to separate it from the rest of the sentence. Okay? But unless you have all three, you don't do commas.
Do you prefer the set or just the first comma?
I prefer the set because it separates. Generally speaking, unless you've got something like a verb right after it, which, right, like if this is your subject, you wouldn't put a comma at the end before the verb. But generally, yeah, I do. I like it. All right, 11:11. All right, let's do at least some of these together. We are looking for commas that should not be there. We are not adding any. You don't even have to think about it, okay? We're not adding any commas. You're looking for ones that shouldn't be there. There are 3 correct on this section, all right? Raise your hand if you want to respond. Jeremy Taylor, theologian and writer, was born in Cambridge, England in August 1613. Sam?
Correct.
It is correct. Do one more and remind me if I forget between now and then to turn that thing off. Perhaps one of his best known works is The Rules and Exercises of Holy Living and Dying, often referred to simply as Holy Living and Dying. Daniel?
After works.
Yes, after works. Yes, right between your subject and verb. That's so bad. Okay, we'll do at least 1 or 2 more together, but let me turn this off, because if not, I'm going to forget. Bye, Jackson. You need to come back sooner than later. Love you. Mean it.